Let me go across and get an expert view on this, because it has been 3 months since Operation Sindoor, but there is a very clear sense that for Pakistan it is business as usual. A border action team infiltration at the border at the line of control in Uri, a series of terror attacks, open threats to India, political messaging, and even messages calling for nuclear war that will take down half the world. What is happening, and is Trump directly responsible for licensing this kind of behavior from Pakistan, and is this a national security threat to India? Sushant, Sareen, one of India's best-known strategic affairs experts and Pakistan observers, senior fellow with the ORF, is with me. Welcome, Sushant. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee is a former Indian diplomat and a veteran on foreign affairs. Thank you very much, the both of you, for being with me. Sushant, Sareen, to you first. Do you think in some ways that Pakistan is emboldened by Trump's open embrace of Asim Munir after Sindoor, and it is through that prism that many of these things should be seen? The things that Munir is saying, the things that Shehbaz Sharif is saying, the border action team in Uri, etc.?
Sure, I think it's both. It's not just the fact that they have, and they certainly have felt very emboldened by how they are being wooed by the Americans. But I think it's also important to understand that I don't think anybody was under any illusion that the Pakistanis are not going to do anything after the beating they've received. They will be making probes, they will be trying to find the weak spots, and they will be testing the limits of our threshold of tolerance. Now, one of the problems for us has always been, and it still remains, despite the fact that the government says that Operation Sindoor is still on, and the fact that we've said that any act of terrorism will be seen as an act of war. Despite having said this, at what level do we ramp up our response? Maybe not to what happened, after Pahalgam, but maybe something less than that, but a very clear, overt response. So this is a bit of a wicked problem for any defense and security planner in the government. That is one part of the problem. The second is, please also remember, we can try and link it up with whatever we want to link up, that Trump has given them a license. But yeah, even when the Americans had not given them a license, and at least on the face of it, the Americans were BFFs of India, right? They were still dealing with the Pakistanis. The Pakistanis were still carrying out terrorism. And did the Americans ever lift a small finger apart from issuing, maybe some statement or designating some group as a terror group? Did they ever lift any finger to stop the Pakistanis? Did they impose any sanctions on them? Did they take any punitive measures against them that, the way you guys are behaving, the kind of things you are doing is not acceptable in any civilized diplomatic sphere? They've never done that.
Yeah.
I don't think they were going to expect that. If the previous administration, which were far more sober and sensible than the current one, did not do it, do you think these guys who are takedars and people who are looking for making a fast buck on crypto and other things, they are going to do it because somebody has dangled a carrot in front of them that, look, we will give you oil, we will give you something else. And these guys, are salivating in their mouth, waiting for those goodies to fall in their lap.
Yeah.
So I don't expect the Americans to do anything, really drastic to ask the Pakistanis to lay off from what they've been doing. And this is a problem we'll have to tackle on our own.
Okay, interesting. Ambassador Mukherjee, I agree with Sushant. India has always been practical. We've never had, misty eyes or expectations from the US when it comes to Pakistan. We understand what the compulsions really are here. But the fact is, in the last few weeks, the kind of overt wooing of Pakistan, the whining and dining of Asim Munir, the very warm compliments being paid to Pakistan, right in front of India's eyes. How should that be interpreted at a time when, India continues to say Operation Sindoor is still very much on, Ambassador Mukherjee?
They should be looked at coolly and calmly from the land of Chanakya. We have been handling the Americans in 1971 when they sent their 6th or 7th fleet, I can't remember now, sailing to blast Kolkata harbour. They have, as very correctly pointed out by my co-panelists, never lifted a little finger, even in the earlier administration, to curb the Pakis in any way.
Yeah.
Why? What are the reasons now? For me, they're threefold. Number one, they want to wean away Pakistan from its first mom and dad, that's China. And to do that, they are doing this. But the Pakis will not play ball because the moment they go back, then they host some high-level person from China. Secondly, they are wooing China so that they can control Iran. That's not going to work out either. Thirdly, they are doing this because they think that India is like Trump and that we're going to come up with a knee-jerk reaction. Of course not. They are doing it to annoy us because we put them in their place by saying that the Pakistani DGMO called us, and that's how Operation Sindoor got suspended. And we have not nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize as they have. So these are pinpricks coming in our direction to say, India, you're 1.4 billion people, but behave, bow your head down, understand who's your boss, and we'll be nice to you, like a pet dog in the room to whom you give a bone. But a nation of 1.4 billion people, colonized for 188 years, we are used to being slapped around and give it right back. So the policy that we've used is very interesting because only last evening, as you may have seen, Shiv, there was the US State Department saying that we have the most excellent relations with India and Pakistan. Both countries are equally important to us, etc. Why? That's the Foreign Office desperately trying to make amends. But more than that, we have to understand. He's not here forever. After midterm, he could be a lame duck. After 3 years, thank God, he'll be gone forever. So we have a time-tested, long relationship. We have nurtured the strategic partnership over a long period of time, all the way from Manmohan Singh ji to Modi ji. I think we just have to take it coolly and calmly, not get excited, not think of reciprocal tariffs. No, not right now. See how things are. And then whatever we do, we don't discuss in public like Trump. We do it quietly.
No, you're right. You're right. I agree with you, Ambassador, because Sushant, I did see Sushant also responding to someone on social media, someone who had suggested that, India can resolve this quickly by kissing the ring or indulging in a little bit of ego massage for Trump. But India has done nothing of the sort, Sushant. And, apart from waiting this out to see if things will change and just being, from the land of Chanakya, etc., how would you assess how India has dealt with Trump in the last 2 weeks since this particular escalation?
Is that for me or
for
Sushant?
Shiv, what was number one being proposed by that individual who claims to be very well connected with the Trump administration was not kiss the ring. He wanted us to kiss the backside, right?
This is not funny.
And I think there's a limit to what we can and we cannot do. Unless, of course, we have decided that we are willing to become like Pakistan and, bear ourselves completely that come and take whatever you want to take. I'm willing to be anybody's concubine if you throw a few bucks at my side. I'm sorry, I don't think, at least I as an Indian, would be deeply offended if any government was to do that. But having said that, I think the way we've dealt with the Americans is with a certain amount of resolve. That look, we are ready for compromise, we are ready to show flexibility. And in fact, if you ask people who've seen what was on offer to the United States, because look, we said that look, there will be some areas where we have certain red lines, you have to respect those.
Yeah.
But there are a whole range of areas we are willing to show the kind of flexibility we have not shown, which is a sensible thing to do even from our point of view, because some of those tariffs are practically crazy, right? So it was good what we were trying to do. But what these guys want is, that they want everything for themselves They want to send their goods at zero tariffs, but they will charge a basic 10% and on top of that a 25%, and now they've imposed a certain penalty on us. So clearly, they're trying to push us against the wall, and I think the government, at least, has reacted with a great deal of stoicism and I would even say equanimity in dealing with these fellows. We've not, at least at the governmental level, there's been no knee-jerk reaction. One thing that I think we really need to reconsider, and where is a point of disagreement with the ambassador, is, we are assuming that in 1.5 years there'll be a return to some kind of balance of power. He will not be able to run amok like he is doing right now. And okay, even if not 1.5 years, then 3.5 years. Number one, 3.5 is a very long time in international relations. Yeah. Number two, there is no guarantee that somebody else like him does not come into power at that point of time. Number three, and most importantly, did this trend start only with Trump, or did this trend start earlier?
Correct.
Because look, let's face it, India, when we say we want to keep a strategic autonomy, we have really not, unlike other allies and partners of the United States, who literally open themselves to the US and let them, let the US decide the bulk of their policies, the Europeans, for example, or any of the other countries. We have always kept some parts of us that certain things we will continue to maintain certain relationships, and we are not going to spoil those relationships. So clearly, the Americans feel that, look, if we are even trying to use the Indians, and right now when they're not a great power, and we are not a great power, let's face it, when they're not a great power, they are showing so much of attitude. What happens when they actually become bigger than what they already are and they have certain capabilities?
Yeah.
They will not even listen to us back then.
Yeah.
Now, what our point of view is that we are more than willing to listen to you. We have none of the ambitions that some of the other players have. But the fact of the matter is that we, being independent and a sovereign nation, need to have a certain amount of flexibility, because we are not a tiny little nation whose only option is the United States.
True.
We need to have a bigger kind of a area to play with. And to that extent, just as we need to be sensitive to the fact that you have a global footprint, you will need to be sensitive to the fact that we will also have certain other relationships beyond you. That the Americans are not ready to accept.
Yeah.
They want us to become something like a Ukraine who will bloody the Russians and help the Western powers. We are not going to do any such thing. So quite clearly, there is a certain problem out there.
I'll leave the last word to Ambassador Mukherjee, the last 2 minutes, which is there going to be some kind of a middle ground? Obviously both sides will be talking. India has shown resolve, but as Sushant says, there are areas where flexibility is possible. How close do you think we could be, to some kind of a break in this, very clear sort of diplomatic impasse between the two sides?
Let me clarify two things very quickly, since I have only 2 minutes. First of all, I have been told by very high-level negotiators that twice we reached a trade deal, twice, with the Americans. It was taken to Trump and he turned it down because he wanted to put extra pressure on us. Secondly, in response to what Sushant has said, and I'm sorry to call you by your first name, but I think you must be younger than me.
No, ma'am, please go ahead.
So I would like to say that we are fully aware that this extra 50% which has been put on us is because they thought it worked on Japan, which is a developed country. It worked on the EU, which is a highly developed group of countries. So why can it not work on India, which is not yet a great country? I think what he forgot, because he doesn't know much history, is that when we were very weak and very poor in 71, we stood right up to American pressure. And since we are a democracy, no government, regardless of who is the Prime Minister of the day, can survive by doing what this lady, Mrs. Motwani, has said, which is that we bow down, kiss the ring, and also tie his shoelaces. We're not going to do that because we are a democracy and the people of 1.4 billion Indians will not allow it. So what we are doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
We have a deal. The deal has been agreed to, Shiv, by both sides. He is holding out because he wants to extract more. We cannot allow him to walk all over our vulnerable sectors with zero tariffs and accept huge tariffs from our goods. So it's not going to work out. We have to see it through. I also agree with Sushant that it may not go away after 3 years, but I
Okay.
would say that it is not right now possible for me to find anybody in United States who could be worse than Trump as far as we are concerned. I may be
Ambassador-
wrong, but I think I'm
Okay.
not.
Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee and Sushant Sareen, thank you very much. We'll have to wait and see what comes next in this diplomatic standoff, really, between the two sides. Is it about who's going to blink first, who's going to bend first? We don't know. But India has shown resolve. It's taken a very serious, unusual view on someone who, until just a few months ago, was considered a very close friend of India. So what happens next continues to be an unpredictable question at this point of time. But India stands strong and has stood up to Trump so far. Thanks very much to the both of you for joining me. The India-Pakistan tension will continue, and we will continue to track it relentlessly here on NDTV.